Thank you for watching this video. God is going to be the one to make the judgments about who ends up where after final judgment. Not me. So here are some thoughts about that and how that applies to me now. I don't need to stress myself or spend time thinking about who's going to end up where and try to decide where they're going to end up. I don't need to tell you where a maniacal dictator who's dead is going to end up. God will make that decision. It would be inappropriate for me to be certain he's going to end up in this or that kingdom, because God knows if that maniacal dictator did some repenting in the spirit world, enough repenting, God's going to decide. Was he mentally ill and brain damaged when he was causing a world war and murdering millions of people? God will know that, and God will make the appropriate decisions. And the appropriate decision might be being sent to hell, which is the telestial kingdom, but God will decide about that. Sometimes I think about the subject when I see people who are not members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who are antagonists of ours, mad that we're not going to answer a question, a ridiculous question, and decide how God is going to make a judgment about something. Specifically, I've heard people bring up the idea of organized crime. We do believe that God is not going to hold people responsible for what they did not know, what they couldn't have done. He's going to judge us based on what truths we did have, what information we had available to us, and how we dealt with it. So, people have brought up a realistic hypothetical scenario of an organized crime member's kid who never meets a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Less likely now, but the more further back in time you go, the less of us there were, maybe somebody like that. Never met a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they did horrible crimes because their parents were a crime family. And some people demand us tell them, how's God going to judge him? But I don't know, and I don't need to know, and you don't need... God hasn't told us how he's going to... what factors he's going to take into account and how much weight he's going to give to different factors. Will he get a thumbs up from God for obeying his parents, or a thumbs down from God because he murdered when his parents told him to murder? God's going to make the right decision about that. I don't need to. And so that's my thought about that. So because God's going to be the one to judge people, I will do baptisms for the dead for anybody. Don't worry, I'm not going to violate the church's policy about who to submit names of. Right now, the church's policy is you only submit names for temple work of your ancestors. You do not submit names for temple work for people you're not related to, people who recently died. So if your uncle recently died, his kids should be the one to decide to submit his name for temple work. Get their permission and see if you can talk them into it if they aren't members of the church. And I guess it's a church policy, but we are also not supposed to submit names of celebrities for temple work. So, you know, we have a holiday every year to remind us about Martin Luther King Jr. He had some good things to say, but he died without baptism. If you're not his descendant, if you're not his descendant and he's not your ancestor, you don't submit his name for temple work. And we do not submit names of Jewish Holocaust victims for temple work. If those Holocaust victims are the ancestor of somebody, go for it. They're your ancestor. They fall into do your ancestor category. But so don't worry about me finding, if your uncle died yesterday or your parents died yesterday, don't worry, I'm not going to submit their name for temple work. But when I'm doing my family history research, I'm not going to, that one, I'm not going to submit that one. I want him to go to hell. No, not going to do that. I'm going to submit the names for temple work and get it done. If I'm in a temple and there's a name for the temple file where somebody else has submitted a name for temple work, and I didn't bring my own names to the temple of my ancestors and I'm doing whatever names there, there is no name, not even one name, 0 names that will get me to say, oh boy, that's that person. I'm not going to do that person's temple work. I'll get them all done and let God decide. One fact of the gospel is exaltation is for married people only. People married, not just any married people, but people married by God's power and authority. Because that kind of marriage can last forever. Any other kind of marriage won't last forever. Get married right now in the United States of America, outside of the temple, and that marriage is not valid anymore when there's no more United States of America, whether it's because you're in the spirit world and dead, where the United States of America has no power, or whether we're talking about in the future, the United States of America will not last forever, and at some point it's going to be done with, and then the marriage is done. But we're not punished for what we do not have the ability to do. We're not punished for what we didn't know about. So there are people who do not get married in this life, who I'm sure some of them, God knows what percentage, I'm not going to try to guess what percentage, but some people who die without that temple marriage did not have an opportunity. And God's going to make sure we get that opportunity before we reach the point in time where there's no more marrying or giving in marriage. We're not going to, years after final judgment, have people dating and getting married, and no, we don't do that there. It's got to happen before a certain point in time, and then after that, no more marrying. God's going to be the one to decide who did not get the opportunity and who did, and who's going to hook up with a great husband or wife for eternity, and who God's going to say, you blew it. You had your opportunities to get married on your earth life, and you're not getting that opportunity now. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing if I, think of some ridiculously obvious hypothetical scenario to just illustrate the point that maybe somebody will have the opportunity and blow it. If there's like one person who got 10,000 marriage proposals or 10,000 date proposals and turned all of them down, maybe that person is going to get judged by God to have had their chance. Alright, so thank you for watching this video. Remember, leave the judgment to God, not to you, and have a good day.